Andy Farrant is a fourth generation Western Australian farmer. He grew up with poultry and then switched across to beef, had very traditional views about how to farm and how to manage the land. All of that changed when he read a book, and then he started to look at regen ag. Subsequently to selling off the family farm, Andy is rethinking the way he manages the urban landscape and wants to give small landholders some ideas as to how they can be more regenerative. Andy, how are you, mate?
Extremely well, Tim. Great to meet you.
Thank you very much for having us out here.
Pleasure.
You have an urban environment now, but you're managing it like a rural environment with brand new ideas. What was the book you read that started this whole journey?
Oh, it's a terrific book called My Father and Other Animals, which is written by the son of a farmer just out of Canberra. And he documented not only his father's 30, 40-year journey through regen ag. His father was a very, very early adopter. But also he was called back to work on the farm to assist his father because his father hurt his hand by probably not turning a machine off or something and needed some help on the farm. He said he called himself the farmhand. And that book was a revelation to regen ag for me, and it's also just a really good read. So see if you can find it in your local library.
It's funny, Andy, we use systems that have worked for generations. We use systems that we are introduced to when we're kids, and we don't question them. We don't think about the boundaries. You're now starting to think about the way that water and fertility works in the landscape. Can we go and have a look at some of the simple things that you've done on your property to begin with that have helped you rethink the way fertility flows through your landscape? And then can we have a chat about how this has application to our whole local environment and your plan to change our whole catchment?
Fantastic. Yeah, sure.
The story starts at the highest point of your property here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At these contours. Tell me a little bit about what's going on here, mate.
Well, just behind us is that high point. We hand dug these trenches along the contour, and behind, not every trench, but behind every second trench, there's mulch. So if there's a rush of water, it goes into the mulch and slowly ekes into the ground.
Right.
Occasionally you do get massive cloud bursts, and these trenches are to catch the water in the cloud burst, because there's one thing I hate on this land, or on any land, is erosion.
Yes.
I'm erosion phobic. And so the other thing too that I just love is that with this mulch here,
You're getting plenty of fungi into the soil, aren't you?
I'm getting plenty of fungi here, and so this is evidence that the biome of this soil, we haven't had, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of these toadstools around the place. We won't eat them. And
good, because I'm Victorian.
But this again is another, for this season, this again is another piece of evidence that the property is changing.
Yeah, yeah. That fruiting body above the ground belies a huge growing organism under the soil that's going to pull that soil together and release nutrients, isn't it?
Absolutely. And they're a really great telltale. And what's interesting too is that other than bandicoots, and I haven't seen any evidence of even the bandicoots eating them, but they're not being eaten by anything.
Yeah, right.
Although a few little baby invertebrates get in there from time to time, but this one's nice and clean. And very slimy.
What's next, mate? Where do we go next?
Let's perhaps go down the hill.
Yeah.
And we'll have a look at one of the first starting points for the water flow on the block.
Okay, let's do that. Now, Andy, you've gone down past the back of your house and right around the side with contours to try and slow the water flow and capture as much water as possible. When we get to your driveway around the front, we've got now a different type of contour here, and some hydrologists in the audience would see some immediate issues that, if not dealt with properly, could become a huge drama. You've gone and put what is basically a speed bump on your driveway along the contour of the landscape.
Yeah.
And it's going to start to collect water and it's going to run down into this garden bed area. Did you have to design the garden bed in a particular way?
Not so much the garden bed. We had 6 speed bumps down the gravel drive until we got an absolute massive storm, 44 mils in 15 minutes about 3 months ago, and the driveway ended up on the road.
Right.
This is a very expensive, different option. But what we're going to have to, what we've begun to do with the garden here is, you're right, the water will get caught by this rise. It'll whoosh down here, straight into the garden behind me. And it'll then go on, that then goes on to feed both the paddock as well as the bigger wandoo trees further down the paddock. And given the changes in our summers, I mean, in the last summer here in Gooseberry Hill, we had 17 days of over 40 degrees. The average for this area, I've got a neighbour who keeps a Stevenson screen, the average for this area is between 6 and 8. 17 days was just off the scale, and I think we're in for more of that. So, we're also in for, as many people will realise, fast rainfall.
Large drops.
Huge drops, large amounts of volume, whoosh, empties out creeks, and completely, if your ground is not covered with vegetation, it will also erode.
So this garden bed, although it looks beautiful, it's performing a very specific function, and that is basically it's a water tank.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And the jacarandas there that you can see just behind us, they've all self-sown over the last 4 or 5 years. And they're really responding to the gravel lump, the gravel rise that I had here to catch the water, but which would move more slowly because gravel offers more resistance. And so they've self-seeded off the other trees that are in the driveway.
Let's go and have a look just below your garden bed here at the next development that you've put in. Andy, this garden is something special, mate. This used to be a cow paddock. I was filming in there just a second ago and I swear I saw a bandicoot.
They're here. They're here, yeah. We've got 6 or 7 here.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, all ages. It's just great. We didn't have them 15 years ago, but they're really, I think because people are keeping their cats indoors. Still foxes about, but every now and then we hear a bandicoot taken at night. It's a horrible noise, but so the foxes occasionally get fed. But
you got lots of ground cover in your garden. You've got lots of hidey holes.
Lots of hidey holes, and this habitat is deliberately kept for birds and also for mammals and reptiles and so on. So in summertime, I'm sure I've seen snakes through here. There are also lots of bobtail kangaroos, bobtail goannas. This is a habitat area.
So it's not just a band of garden that sweeps around the contour and is holding your water on site. It's also providing vital habitat in what is now a developed suburb.
In what is now a developed suburb, and it's part of the bigger ecosystem of this block.
Well, let's go down the hill a little bit more and find out about these contours and how they're developing another ecosystem and what you're putting into them.
All right, beauty.
So just below the garden, as we head down the lawn, mate, we've got larger, more open contours. They don't have to be deep to do the job properly, do they?
Oh, they don't have to be too deep. But also too, can I just correct you there, Tim? This isn't lawn. This is definitely paddock. And on this paddock I'm yet to get a full head count, I'm hoping about 25 different species of things that I've put in over the last couple of years. And we've just stopped next to one of my behaviour modifying features of this block. I love collecting.
Yeah, I heard you've got a collection.
Yeah, a
bit of a collector.
With collection of bones and roadkill in this Roadkill Hill.
So you're literally the kind of guy that stops on the side of the road and scoops up the dead stuff to bring back and put fertility on your property.
I've got plastic bags in the back of my car. I've never brought home a kangaroo because they're just a bit too unwieldy and heavy. But yeah, I brought home a number of different animals. And also too, if one of our chickens dies,
into the
that's where it
compost.
goes. Yeah.
Once it's digested, once it's broken down, you then spread it out sort of below the contour or above the contour, in the contour. What do you do with it?
It goes across the top of the contour, but I'll also leave it. I mean, here we are, we're in the sort of grips of midwinter. I'll leave this until probably the beginning of September. Then I'll spread it out, hopefully to catch the last rains, and the rains will then push that extra biome back across the lower area.
Now, Andy, your comment about lawn before, I call this lawn because I'm a lazy gardener, but you've had to rethink how you see weeds and how you see plants. You're actively managing this and you're getting a transition of plants in the lawn, but it's not through chemical means.
No, it's not. Well, the only chemistry in here is the occasional throw of pigeon poo and the mulch, which is what's enriching and keeping a lot of the water on. But also too, with this whole struggle with weeds that I've had, is that, for instance, this capeweed, the South African capeweed, I've never been a fan. It doesn't keep the paddock covered for summer.
Yep.
It just shrinks back to nothing. So it's not useful in terms of the long-term game of keeping water on the land and protecting the soil with ground cover. And so what I've done is over the last 3 years, I've put on a different a whole series of 25 different species of what's called a cover crop. So imagine many different, it's kind of like a muesli for the land.
Peas, beans, flax, all sorts of stuff.
All manner of stuff. And the really great thing is this year, for the first time, the till radish is coming up. Now at the moment they're only about that high, but these radishes will grow into the size of a carrot. And what the radish does is that it opens up the soil, and when it rains, and for the next season, the soil will be more open and more able to accept more water. And the really important thing I learned when I did the Regen course is that for every millimetre of rain that falls, every square metre gets a litre. Now, here in the Perth Hills, we'll get on an average summer about 730, maybe up to 800 in a good year, millimetres of rain. So every metre of this paddock, and on the roads, and in people's backyards, gets a litre of water. So can you imagine what, I mean, this is a 3.5 acre block. Let's say this is 2.5 hectares worth of land. This gets thousands and thousands of litres of water dropped on it from the heavens, free, and it's fixed with nitrogen as it falls every year. And the long-term aim here is to get as much water into the soil. And so the tools I'm using are things like the till radish, which will naturally open up the soil. And even last year's till radish will just leave a hole. What better place for water to go? And with the mulch that we've spread on here, the water hits the mulch and immediately goes into the ground.
And things like your capeweed are going to disappear because you're competing with better, more suited plants to the environment.
Well, also, it's interesting. We have lost about 3/4 of the capeweed in this paddock than we had here last year, and this is really thrilling to see. And I'm hoping it's not just because of this season, but I think it's because too what's happening underneath in the ground is that the soil is responding to the additional fertiliser that's coming from the natural manures. I mean, the ducks are also helping as well, as do the kangaroos and the bandicoots and other things. But the soil is beginning to respond, and we're seeing that through this winter. It's really exciting to see.
Now, Andy, you've always been a livestock guy. You've still got livestock, and they're working in the garden. How important do you think it is for people in urban environments to have some livestock, whether it be 3 to 5 chickens?
Well, it's fantastic. First of all, 2 weekends ago, I put in 5 barrow loads of mulch into here because it was getting a bit wet underfoot. What will happen as the season dries out, I'll be able to scrape that out and put it underneath the citrus for next year's citrus crop, or in the veggie patch for the next round of vegetables. So having your own livestock is really important. And in a little while, I'll show you the chicken tractor I've got, which I pick up every day when the chickens are in the paddock. They're safe, they're walking around in a concentrated area, and they're adding huge value. And one of the reasons why this paddock is now generating all these new species that I'm seeing is because last year was the first year I had the chicken tractor with the chickens moving every day, and I think they've popped their way around the place beautifully.
So it's not just meat and eggs, but if you've got chickens, you never go hungry, do you?
No, you don't. That's right. And this particular navel, these are what I call netball oranges. You cut them into quarters and you eat them as you used to if you played netball as a primary school kid, and they're just full. It's just great juicing. And I'd like them a little bit bigger, but I need to talk to a horticulturalist about that.
What great memories, mate, and what a great environment for you to live in. So we're capturing water, we're capturing fertility, collecting some fertility, and having a natural succession of desirable plants getting rid of our weeds. Things are pretty rosy for your 3 acres. But we've got a whole catchment here, haven't we? And there's implications for unstored and unslowed water further down the hill, aren't there?
One of the things I realised with the reading I was doing and also the course that I did was that behind us here, this is a very discrete catchment area. It's almost an amphitheatre. It'd be a very big rock and roll concert if it was an amphitheatre. But there are houses, there's a strip of houses on the top, there's a national park in the middle, and then there's this bigger, what they call special rural land here on the early rise of the Darling Range. And I've just begun conversations with local government and with partners like Regen WA and the NRM about using this. Here we are right on the edge of Perth City, here in the Perth Hills, using this as a case study of catchment and change in catchment. So some of the big challenges we're facing at the moment is that the Kadina Brook, which is the main stream that runs through the catchment, is you can see on the rocks in summer when the creek dries out, is that there's a film of nitrogens and phosphates and so on, which have come, I suspect, from the houses, either people over-fertilising their lawns, or indeed many of those houses are from the 1960s and 70s, and they've got old leach drains. And so the leach drains are leaking when there are these big rain events and flowing down into the creek. When I was a kid, you couldn't come down and have a conversation at the end, towards the end of the day as the sun was going down next to the brook. Kadina Brook was a cacophony of frogs. You go down there now at sunset and it's almost silent. So one of the things we've done there is that we've built a number of water barriers called Leaky, weirs or riffles, and we're holding back the water on the land, slowing it down so that tadpoles have now got somewhere as habitat, but also so they're not being washed further downstream and out of the catchment.
And how are the neighbours taking the idea of giving up their lawns and developing cover crops and putting in contours and slowing water and trapping water on site? Because obviously that's an important thing to do, isn't it?
Look, and everybody runs their own block. Every conversation I've had so far has been positive, and part of it is just learning, as I've done, learning what's going on and how things can change, and also putting aside the old habits that I have, and I still carry a few, I have to confess, Tim, but thinking differently about how people's land is managed and thinking differently about how they can retain water on their blocks to not only save the cost of watering their gardens, because the more you keep on your block, the more months of growing you'll have with your garden, but also to thinking about literally the downstream impact of nitrogens and phosphates washing through to the main river courses. So these two small leaky weirs here and the one that we've just seen further downstream were built by friends of this stream, and just essentially neighbours who want to do stuff and build this habitat. We moved 10 tonnes of rock. This is Perth Hills coffee rock. This is also the stuff that indicates there's aluminium in the ground. And we've used these rocks, and we moved the 10 tonnes, built them into the creek line, and that probably took about 35 minutes with 10-15 of us lifting, working, using trolleys, and also a whole bunch of kids who were very, very keen and handing in small rocks to put in. And the really great thing was watching the kids put in sort of key rocks between the gaps between the big rocks, and so it was a great family Sunday morning. So this is a leaky weir that's been filled with erosion from in the national park. And so I'm standing, when we first built this leaky weir, this area was above knee height. But the really great thing, if you just come up here a little bit, the really great thing, there are 20 or 30 young melaleuca growing in the soil. So a new habitat's being created by keeping the water here. And this is also very close to the edge of the national park. Up there, above the national park, are a whole lot of stormwater drains. So when it rains, the rain hits the bitumen on the roads, whooshes into the stormwater drains, and literally erodes anything to do with this creek line. And it's the erosion that we're stopping and controlling with these leaky weirs.
These great works have been made possible by a range of volunteers and local government, and these videos have been made possible by Regen WA through the West Australian State Government's NRM program. For more details, click the link below.
Tim, let me introduce you to the chicken tractor. Now, this is a carbon-free, concentrating way of moving the livestock. So the chickens live in here. I move the chicken tractor every day. The chickens get some food, but what they do is they dig up where they're set for the day, and at night they roost up and they poop everywhere. And so slowly, with this small piece of very dodgy building by me, we work our way around the paddock, and the paddock gets fed with lots and lots of fertiliser. Some stiff wire to keep the foxes out at the bottom with a skirt of wire. Hasn't been open for a while. Around here is how you get in. And the whole thing here in the Perth Hills, we get really strong easterly winds, and so I use about 5 of these augured tent pegs with a cordless drill, small cordless drill, straight into the soil, holds it down. Touch wood, we haven't had it blow over yet.
So Andy, chicken tractors don't have to be complicated or expensive. They can be very simple as long as they're secure and keep the pests out. I love this folding idea of the door, mate. This is brilliant. Where'd you get that from?
Well, again, another book, and it's designed actually.
I've done it wrong, haven't I?
No, but see what you do is, did you ever fold your kids' nappies?
Yes, but it's been a long time.
You just roll it up like it's a ponytail, actually.
Okay.
And you just loop it through the bungee cord, and there you go.
Very clever.
And it means that fox can't jump on that, so it stops foxes getting in. But it's also the original designer of this lived in a place where snakes would get in, and so this is a way to stop the snakes getting in.
Very clever.
In through the opening. So it does need a new coat of paint on the tarpaulin, but
lick of paint, you'll fix her up, no problem, mate.
Just get out the spray can soon. So it's just shade cloth, and the chickens stay dry when it's raining with the tarpaulin.
Fantastic. So if people are frustrated farmers and they're only on a small block in the burbs, they can rotationally graze livestock.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, you could build a much smaller one of just say 2 metres by 1 and put it in your veggie patch and put 4 or 5 chickens in it for 5 days. Give them lots of greens, go and pick off the bits from your greengrocers that they're throwing out. Feed them with that, give them some usual chicken feed. They will turn that land, if you leave it for 5 to 7 days, they will dig that up, they will enrich the soil, and then with this, the chickens are inside, I'm inside, I lift it up, and we walk it along, and they're following along behind, and suddenly they're on new grass, and they're right next to me because they want to be first to the new grass.
Couldn't be easier.
It's great.